Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or good day tomorrow to John, who says it's pitch black in central Victoria, Australia. So glad to have all of you here, and wherever or whenever you are around the world, welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I'm Geoff Rasmussen, your host, broadcasting to you live from Webinar headquarters in Middleton, Idaho. Today we're going hands-on with MyHeritage DNA. And to walk me through the site and to help interpret what I'm seeing on the screen is the product manager of MyHeritage DNA products, Rand Snir. He is live at MyHeritage headquarters in Or Yehuda, Israel, and I'm glad to have him with us. I'm also excited to have, for the first time on our show, Russ Wilding, the Chief Content Officer at MyHeritage. He is our surprise guest that I've been telling you about and is going to play a unique role here in just a bit. So glad to have Russ with us also. And of course, I'm glad to have all of you with us today. More than 1,800 of you from these 28 countries have registered for today's live webinar. Thanks everyone for sharing part of your day with us. Okay, after the main presentation, stick around for these door prizes. First, for one of our webinar subscribers, I'll have a MyHeritage DNA kit. So one of the perks of an annual webinar membership is your name is always in the pool for at least one door prize. I'll also have another MyHeritage DNA kit for one of our live audience members. And then, as always, I'll have a copy of our Legacy Family Tree software for a lucky viewer. And finally, I'll have a free month's webinar membership to give away. But first, we're going to hear from you, so everyone get your voting fingers ready. And our first question, real easy. Have you had your DNA tested? So just a quick either yes or not yet. And I see 58% of you have voted, 66, it's going really quickly. And I'll share the results here with everyone in just a second. Okay, click real quick because I'm going to close the polling. All right, here we go, and I'll share the results here with you. So, Russ and Rand, 91% of our viewing audience here today, they say yes, 9% not yet. Okay, let me close that poll, and I've got one more question for you, which is your DNA data at MyHeritage yet? So select one of these, either yes, I did the MyHeritage DNA test, or yes, I imported my raw results from another provider, or not yet. Okay, very interesting live numbers coming in. All right, I'm going to close the polling and share the results with you. So 21% of our audience here today, yes, they did the MyHeritage DNA test. Half of our audience say, yes, I imported from another provider, and 30% of the audience, not yet. All right, very interesting. Thanks, everyone, for participating in that. Helps me get to know you a little bit better. Okay, so let's first talk about the format of today's webinar. So a couple of months back, we hosted a live webinar with Ran on the topic of understanding DNA matching technology. This webinar, which is available for free in our webinar library, it gave an introduction to DNA matching, provided a walkthrough of DNA matches at MyHeritage, talked about what was coming soon, including the wonderful one-to-many chromosome browser, which we'll talk more about today, and it answered many of your questions. If you haven't seen it yet, I'd recommend adding it to your playlist afterwards. Today is going to be more informal. I've now had a chance to become acquainted with the DNA section up at MyHeritage, and now I have questions about what I'm seeing. So I'm going to use this opportunity to hopefully become better acquainted with my DNA ethnicities, my matches, and again, I can't wait to learn more of the chromosome browser. You'll quickly learn, if you didn't already know, that I'm not an expert in DNA. In fact, I'd still consider myself to be a beginner at this, and that's why I've brought in the big guns today. So I'll have lots of questions, and if you have questions, please don't hesitate to type them into the questions panel of your webinar control panel, and we'll get to as many of those as we can throughout, but maybe hold them until immediately afterwards in case they're answered as we go along. Okay, so a really quick review of my personal history with genetic genealogy. Do you remember back in January of 2016. I wrote about this on our blog. I thought it was finally time to join the genealogy DNA world, and I did so by testing each of my grandparents. And those results came in and looked encouraging, yet so confusing. So I invited Diane Southard to join me for a live webinar where she helped me conclude that Grandma's DNA did indeed begin to solve my brick wall. Then I imported my results into GEDmatch. Again, I needed help interpreting those results, so I invited Diane back, and we had another wonderful live webinar together. These are in the library. You can still view them. Then I had a cousin take a Y-DNA test with family tree DNA, which solidified that brick wall, or, well, rather it helped to further break down the brick wall. Soon after I uploaded my results to DNA's newcomer, MyHeritage DNA. This was back in June of last year. And then 2 days later, I received the email with the invitation to come and view my new DNA matches. Most of the matches were new ones that I hadn't received over at any other service, and many of them come from the home countries of my ancestors. And then just a couple of months ago, like I mentioned in January, well, MyHeritage did something magical with their DNA algorithms, I understand, and I think that Rand Snir probably had a lot to do with that. But my personal match list grew by about 1,700 more matches at the time. And then finally, just last month at RootsTech, MyHeritage really did steal the show with the announcement of the new one-to-many chromosome browser, along with lots of other enhancements and announcements. Rand gave us a sneak peek of this in January, but it's all live and ready for us to be using right now. So you'll enjoy today's webinar if you've never done DNA and want to see what it's all about, or if you've done DNA but haven't yet imported your results into MyHeritage. I think there was, 30% of you. If you've done DNA and are unsure about what everything means, and if you want to hear why people are starting to say that MyHeritage DNA is the new leader in genetic genealogy. That specific phrase went viral after January's webinar, and especially after the announcements made at RootsTech. And of course, this will be in the familiar Watch Geoff Live style, meaning I've got an outline of what I'd like to discuss, but it's completely unscripted and unrehearsed. So my hope is that we'll all know a little bit more about DNA afterwards than we did before. So here we go. Now I'm gonna invite Ran here, and I'm gonna switch over to my browser, and I've headed up to myheritage.com, and this is what it looks like when because I'm logged in. This is kind of my starting portal here. And what I want to do is I want to start by going to the family tree. Now, a little while back, I created a GEDCOM file from my legacy database and imported it into a new tree here, and so that's why I have what I have here, and I can zoom out and just kind of show you a thumbnail of what that looks like. So it's over here on the left when I open up the left panel, where there's a link right here that says upload DNA data, and this is probably where I started to import the raw results that I had received from a previous test. Ran, walk me through that. Am I telling the truth here? Is if our raw data, if our DNA was tested elsewhere, is this where we'd start to upload our DNA data?
Hi, Geoff, and hi, everybody. Great to join you again for the second time in 3 months, I'd say.
I know, it's great to have you back.
Thank you. So I believe you said that you've uploaded somewhere on June 2017. So I don't know if it was, I think that was exactly when we launched the new upload flow. But there are two ways how to do it. So if you already have a tree on MyHeritage, some people don't. I think that was also one of the questions that you presented. Must I have a tree at MyHeritage in order to upload my raw DNA data? And the answer is no. Anyone who's tested, even if he's not a member yet, if he doesn't have an account with us, he's more than welcome to upload his results. So you can start by going, there are two options how to upload it. If you want, you can click on that upload DNA data right there. But also, exactly as you clicked on the DNA drop-down in the navigation panel, you'd see that there's an upload DNA data. entry. And if you'll click on that, you will see an UI and an interface that will walk you through and explain to you very easily, and takes a short amount of time, how to do it, how to download your data from the other provider. It's right there at the bottom, because I think the screen is a bit squeezed at the moment. Usually it's on the right. So we explain here how to download if you've tested. We currently accept files from Ancestry, Family Tree DNA, and 23andMe. And if you'll click on that how to download hyperlink that you see over there, you will see this interface, which will show you step by step, depends on the company where you tested with, how to get your file, how to get your raw DNA data file from that vendor, from that company. And once you have that file, you can use our page right there behind that pop-up to import that file to us and say whether you were the one who tested, or is the DNA file that you're uploading belongs to someone else.
Okay.
And here is exactly where you can type that name, and we will automatically look in your tree if you already have one. So let's see what comes up. And here are all the Debras on your tree, and yeah, your mother.
And that shows up because I already have a tree there. Is that true?
Correct.
And if
that is true.
Did not have a tree there.
So let's type a name that you know that doesn't exist in your tree and see what happens. All right, so we couldn't find Mr. Justin, but if you'll press enter, if you'll hit the enter button, you can see that now, yeah, we couldn't find it, but we'll take the file, we'll accept the file, and you'll just need to put the gender and the year of birth. Okay. And that's it. Okay. And then at the bottom, you click on upload, fetch the file that you just downloaded, and that's it. Your results will be ready between 24 to 48 hours.
Okay. Well, so I'm going to click upload because I think that now it will ask me, I have to agree to that. I think now it will ask me where is my file, and I store mine here. Now, our audience knows about my personal digital organizational system of locations and surname, but I've got another folder there called DNA, and this is where I've saved my raw results, and so I would just select the appropriate one from here and just continue on. Okay, and then the next step. So after you upload it, I wait for how long before I can see something? Does it take a couple of days for that to be processed and
yeah.
Okay.
Once the file is uploaded, you'll see a notification that the file was successfully uploaded, and if there was some problem with it, we'll tell you why. And it will say that the results will be ready between 24 to 48 hours. Okay. And if you have more DNA data files, if you've tested a couple of your relatives, there'll be an option to upload another file for another individual. Yep. Okay. Now,
one more question about having a tree here before we move on. What would the advantages of having a tree here be? Now, if I remember correctly, we can have a tree up to 250 individuals in a free account, and beyond that, I think there's probably a membership required. But why should I have a tree there, and is it still okay if I don't have a tree there?
So absolutely, we give our users the option to decide whether they want to, go the path of start building a tree and expanding it. We are highly recommending to do that, because once you'll upload your DNA, other than getting your ethnicity estimate results, you will also start getting free DNA matches. And for uploaders, again, I'd like to emphasize that both the ethnicity estimate and the DNA matches list, along with all the features that come with it, are for free. Given for free for the uploaders at the moment, and that's why I encourage all the 30% who responded that they haven't done so yet to do so. And once you'll start working with your DNA matches and you'll start getting those relatives of yours, you will want to know how the two of you are related. That's the main point. That's what people usually do with the list of DNA matches. Having a tree, and we'll see that, I believe, in a few minutes, will give you the options. For example, we'll show you shared surnames from both of your trees, yours and your DNA matches. and we'll show you a pedigree chart showing you the direct ancestors of the person who took the DNA test, which will also might ring a bell, and some other cool features around the genealogical information that you've provided in your tree that might help break those, brick walls and understand better how you and your DNA matches are related. And that's why building a tree, it comes hand in hand with taking a DNA test for, genealogical purposes.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you. And by the way, I love the balloons, and sometimes there's like a ring thing for anniversaries. So my second oldest is turning 16 this weekend. Can't believe how fast time goes. Okay. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. Got my oldest is leaving the home in a couple of months, and oh, that's sad. But anyways, it's exciting. Let's go up to DNA. I'll click here. And I think initially the most exciting thing that happens is I get to see my ethnicities. So let's take this next section and walk me through my personal ethnicities and help me understand what I'm seeing. So, but I think I'm here on the overview right now.
Correct, you are. So the first option, the DNA overview, is, as the name hints, it's a summary. Summarized results for the kits that you manage. So if you have more than one kit, you'll see them also at the bottom. And that's usually like a starting point for our users who took a DNA test or have uploaded. And we give you kind of a brief, like the top results from your ethnicity estimates and also your top DNA matches in a very, easy way for you to review and work with. So you can see right there at the top that you have one kit associated with you, and you're from the USA. That is the kit that you currently have, which was by the two first letters. I can say that it was uploaded from Ancestry.
Okay.
And you can see that your DNA traces back to 5 ethnicities. At MyHeritage today, we have 42 ethnicities on which we give results, percentage-based results. So out of the 42 ethnicities that we have, we took your DNA data, we ran it through our algorithm, and we found references, we found results that match 5 of those ethnicities.
Okay.
Which is all there in your DNA. So you can see that the top one, your highest one is the Scandinavian with almost 45%, and North and West European with 33%. And there are 3 more ethnicities that sum up to 22%. And there is a button which will take you to view your full ethnicity estimate to see those remaining 3 and learn a little bit more about each one of those results that you got.
Okay. So before I click on this, you brought up something interesting about kits, and I think you said kit in the plural form, meaning would there be an occasion where I would have more than one kit listed here? Tell me what explain that to me.
Sure. So let's say there are 2 different use cases or 2 different scenarios here. So we have users who are managing kits for more than one person. That is one thing. Okay. So if you've tested yourself and you've tested a relative of yours, for example, my dad.
Like this. So I manage my dad's and my grandfather's. Okay.
Exactly, but we see people who have tested with more than one company. For example, in 2017 you've tested with Ancestry, with 2018 you've tested with MyHeritage, so you'll have 2 kits, but we accept multiple kits associated with one individual, and that's the reason why here we're showing you which ethnicity results are based on which kit, because each company is looking into different SNPs and points in the DNA. There are slight differences which sometimes affect the results that one person can get. So if you've tested with Ancestry, for example, and uploaded to us, you'll get a certain ethnicity estimate, and if you've tested with MyHeritage, you might get a slightly different one. Either the percentages might change, or you can see new ethnicities that were not there to begin with. We were able to identify with our test, for example.
So are you combining results from different kits, or are you taking the MyHeritage one as the preference, or how does it change if I have multiple kits there?
So when it comes, there are two major aspects of the DNA product. So the first one is the ethnicity estimate. For the ethnicity estimate, if you'd had more than one kit, we would have given you an option to see different results
Oh,
for
really?
each kit.
Oh, wow.
So we're not combining that. We're not doing anything, we're not merging the results. So
Yeah.
for each kit, you get a different set of ethnicity estimate results. When it comes to DNA matches, here it's a little bit different. And what we're doing there is that we're taking your first kit and we're matching it again, against more than the 1.23 million people who have tested and uploaded with us. And we're doing the same thing with the second kit. Okay? And we're showing you a cumulative view of the results so that you're seeing all of your DNA matches all together in one place. There are slight differences between how people work with their ethnicity estimate and how they work with DNA matches. When it comes to DNA matches, we're talking about people who we found genetically similar to you to some extent. Okay, so we won't show you duplicates. Okay, we won't show you if we found, for example, if you have tested and I have tested, and we both match, and we found the match with the first kit that you've uploaded, and then with the MyHeritage kit, we'll show you the results, the best results that you got with me. However, there are chances where, for example, with the Ancestry kit, we couldn't find a match with me because it was not significant enough. But when you took the match with when you took the DNA test with MyHeritage, we saw different results and were able to match you with me, and then that match will pop. So we'll show you like a cumulative list.
So you're
of DNA matches.
You're giving me for new insights and more incentive now to also have my DNA done at MyHeritage as an example. So from what you were just telling me, it seems like there would be an advantage to that. With what you're just saying here, I see all kinds of people writing in saying, hey, he just answered my question. Bobby says they are mind readers, and so nice job. Okay, so let's go over into View Full Estimate and help me understand what I'm seeing here on this screen.
Sure. So at the top, you can see the people for whom you manage a DNA kit. Okay. At MyHeritage, we allow managing kits for multiple people under one account. And we see that happens quite a lot with families. There's that one guy, who takes more responsibility and is in charge and is the one testing all of the family members and, helping them. So in this example, Geoff, I can see that's you. So we have Geoff, who has tested 7 different people that you have sampled, and you're managing all of their kits, so you have the option to view each one of their results. So we're showing you the top 3 at the three people at the top, 3 cards that you can click on to see the different results, your ethnicity estimates, and then your father's and your grandfather's. So exactly what you're doing. Okay. And alternatively, there's a little drop down because you're managing more than 3, and obviously it wouldn't fit the page to give 7 cards with an endless scroll. So we're giving you here with the option for those who manage more than 3 kits to see the rest of the kits that they're managing. So here we can see your grandmothers and your other grandfather and the rest of your relatives that you have tested. So each one of them, when you click on each one of them, you'll see the results for that specific person. Okay, and by the way, I should say that I've got permission from each of these to have them displayed in a class like this. So, okay. So now let me scroll down just a bit and then talk to me about the next part of the screen. Right. So now we're looking at your results, and we can see that you have 45% Scandinavian and 33% North and Western European, and some English and Irish. And when you click on each one of these, you can see the map on the right changes to show you that ethnicity geographically, where are those people in the world. And because you have 1% there of Middle Eastern. Yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah. In the neighborhood. Very interesting. So yes, so we break it down by continents or areas in the world, right? So you can see Europe. Most of your ancestors are from Europe, the majority of them, yeah. And here we break down the results. Now, if you click, for example, on Scandinavian, let's just Scandinavian, for example, and here you can see the Scandinavian countries highlighted on the right. If you'll scroll down a bit for a second, below the map. Oh, okay. There
Here we go. Oh, okay.
There we go. So you can read a little bit about each one of those ethnicities that you've inherited, and where these people came from, a little bit about their culture, where they moved to, where they came from originally. So for each one of those ethnicities, once you'll click on that, you'll see the paragraph changes, and there's yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, how do I get back to my full map here that shows all of them together?
So you can click on the back button on the map on the top left.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. That'll just go back.
So it will take you one by one. Yep. Or you can jump alternatively clicking. All right.
Okay.
Yep. So you can do a little tour in your ethnicities. Mm-hmm.
Well, the tour that I like, and I'm not going to do it now because I don't know about the volume for everyone else, but you should go and click on this play intro. I love this. My kids love it. I did a training for the Boy Scouts who were working on their genealogy merit badge, and this was actually what they liked most of all. It played the music from each of these regions, and the favorite music was the Middle Eastern, with the loud drums. I mean, that's fun. Okay, so that's fun. Now, looking down here, there's a check mark that says show events from your family tree, and I want to click on that, and then I've got a couple of questions for you. So I think it's gathering, and it's going to be populating this map. And there's the orange numbers, and it's doing that because I have my tree on MyHeritage. First of all, is that true?
Yes, that is absolutely true. One of the advantages of creating a family tree, as we discussed before, so I mostly spoke about the DNA matches aspect of, helping you work with your list of DNA matches and figuring out how the two of you are related, but it also comes in very handy here. So we gave you an ethnicity estimate report based on what we see in your DNA, and it's always fun to, when your tree, you have a significant tree with a lot of birth and death and marriage facts that you've added, we can see how that correlates with the ethnicity estimate report that you received. So if you'll hover over one of them, for example, I can see that you have 77 events in Sweden, and once you'll click on that, we'll show you exactly what happened in Sweden based on the information that you've provided in your family tree. So we can see you have a lot of direct ancestors from Sweden, which might explain to you how you've inherited that part.
Yeah, the Scandinavian, right?
Yeah.
And
we can see that big bulk.
Whole bunch here in Denmark. Okay. And that's coming from my tree, and what you're saying is that matches the ethnicity report from my DNA. Now,
correct.
what about, so my 1.1% Middle Eastern here, I don't see any orange circles with numbers in it. Why not? I mean, I think I have the answer, but I want to hear what you say.
So there could be a couple of answers here. The first one is that it's 1.1% is quite far away. So it means it's either generations and generations ago, which you didn't get yet to, either you don't know of or you didn't fill out in the tree yet.
Okay.
And sometimes that can also be a trace region for which, the results might be, that it's a 1% that we've identified as a Middle Eastern, but because it's so low, it's below the 2 to 2.5%, it could have easily been one of the other ones that our algorithm decided to determine as Middle Eastern.
Okay, I'll buy that. Good explanation. Now, what about this one? So Italy, I've got 11. However, Italy is not, it's not part of one of my DNA regions. So why would that be?
So I think there could be a couple of explanations to that. So one of them is that it's so far away that you simply didn't inherit that part. It's not it's not there in your DNA. And alternatively, I'd say that 11, we'll need to look at those ancestors for a second and see exactly who appears there. But you read 9 generations ago, so I'd say that in this case you probably just didn't inherit enough, or they just stopped on the way. The fact we have people, I'm very familiar with it from Jewish Ashkenazi, for example, that we we migrated a lot around the world and we lived in certain points, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're part of that ethnicity. So if you had one family that was going to one place and stayed there for 50, 60 years and then migrated to the next place, it doesn't necessarily mean that is part of your ethnicity.
Yeah, good explanations. I appreciate that. Well, hey, with ethnicity, is there anything else that you want to say about any of this before I move on to our matches?
I think I'll just emphasize the print option because that is something that was implemented. I saw so many requests from people asking us to do this. They liked the ethnicity estimate. They liked it so much, and they wanted to have an option to share it with their family, in a non-digital way, the good old-fashioned way. And we've prepared a dedicated page that you can print at your home. I like that. Very adjusted exactly for that. So just wanted to.
Good. Maybe that's something new there. Maybe I haven't noticed it before, but I like that a lot. You know what you ought to do, Ran, is I know, knowing you probably are already working on it, but up here somewhere, maybe it's under family tree and then more, go and add that to the print charts section where, it could be like a really nice big type of a chart without that you are, at the bottom of this, when I print this out, I get this URL thing at the bottom. It's really pretty, but boy, wouldn't that be nice in your charts section? Okay. Well, I'll watch for that here in a future update. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's next go back to just a second here. Let me close some of these other things. All right, we're loading. Let me go back over to my PowerPoint, and I think I've got everything there. I want to start now to look at the DNA matches, and I'm going to go into and look at my dad, and hopefully you can walk me through what I'm seeing on the screen, and especially tell me about this chromosome browser. That's we're all excited about that. All right, so I'm going to go up here. Let's go down to my DNA matches. And, okay, so initially, I've got myself highlighted, and right down here, tell me what I'm seeing here and where I should go.
So at the bottom, you see the people that you manage DNA kits for, same as we saw in the ethnicity estimate. Yep. And below, we're actually showing you your results at the moment. You're the focus person. We're looking at your DNA matches. Okay. So we're showing you 1 to 10. Each page shows 10 by default of the total of about 18 or 1900 DNA matches that you have. We provide a couple of options to work with that long list of DNA matches that keeps on growing every day. We have people testing with MyHeritage and uploading on daily basis, so the DNA matches grows. So pay attention to that. We give you 3 ways to work with your list. There's the default view, and you have an option to sort your list. By default, it's sorted by the strongest DNA matches and down. So you'd see the people with whom you have the most shared DNA with at the top, but there are also options to sort by the number of shared segments that you have, the length of the largest segment, name, and those who were recently added by the date that the DNA matches based on the date that they were added. Okay. On the right, you have the option to search in your list of DNA matches. So if, for example, at the moment you're looking at a specific branch of your tree or trying to look, you know that there's something that interests you the most. For example, I want to know more about the Snir family. So you can type in Snir and search for that, and all people with either the Snir or brown, thank you, much easier, brown in there, Snir is my side. So brown in there, the name of the DNA match, or one of their ancestors' surnames that also carry the name of Brown, we will also return that result.
So I hit search, and when I type in Brown, so 112 of those.
112 of your results either have Brown in their DNA name, or there is a surname by the name of Brown. One of their ancestors had Brown in their surnames. Okay. So we'll show you that as well.
Okay. And what's this right next to it? So by
default, Yeah. By default, we're looking at all of these three, so you can search by full name or the ancestor's surname specifically. And country is also possible, so if you want to look at your matches from Norway, you can click country and search Norway. And I hope you have matches from Norway.
Yeah, you've got me interested now. Can I do Norway plus a surname? Does that work?
Let's see what comes up in Norway.
Oh, I've got 9 matches.
You have 9 DNA matches?
All right.
Yeah. All right. So if you know you have roots in Norway, for example, or Scandinavian, your ethnicity estimate showed you that you have Scandinavian ethnicity in you and quite high percentages, you can look for your matches from Norway or Sweden and start getting in touch with them. Contacting your DNA matches is free, completely free on MyHeritage. So you're welcome to reach out to any one of them. Here, by the way, I can see that you have ancestral surnames common to the two of you. You both have Larsen and Johnson and 15 more names that both you and this folk right here has in his family tree.
Yeah.
Again, we see the added value of having a tree on MyHeritage and a big one for this guy with more than 10,000 people in it.
Right.
So that we can match those surnames and hint you better, give you more options, more tools to see to understand better how the two of you are related.
So Cherie has an interesting question here. When I'm doing searching here, do I have to spell the name? So let's say that I'm doing, I want to search for Brown, but, I did country. Let's go back. Let's type in Brown, hit search. Does this also pick up Brown that might be spelled differently? I know MyHeritage does really good, I can't remember what we call it with the global name translations and other things. But does this also pick up Brown that with other variants spellings?
Yes, it should. I can see that because I was looking at my Cohen side quite some time ago, and we have people testing in Israel, we have people testing in the States. So some people write Cohen in English, and some people write Cohen in Hebrew. Some people spell it with a K, with a C. So yes, we will. We have algorithms in MyHeritage that we use also not only in the DNA product but also in the genealogical product, and when you're searching for records, and we're using that here as well.
Okay.
So. Yeah, so if you were looking for Brown with one N and someone spelled it with 2 N's, if our algorithm thinks that, this is what you meant, we will show you that result.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Now, what about Brown plus, can I combine 2 of these, like a Brown plus a country?
I believe it won't work at the moment, but we're working on something that I don't want to expose just yet.
Okay.
But very soon it'll be... Yes, it'll work.
Okay, and if you want to expose anything, you're more than this would be the place to do it. Okay, now what about this over here on the right? So let's go back and view my entire list, which is like 1800, 1878. Now, what's this one do?
So we spoke about the option to sort, and we spoke about the option to search, and now you clicked on the option to filter your results. So by default, we're showing you all of your DNA matches, obviously, but you can narrow it down if starting with almost 1900 matches. It's a lot of work. So we can narrow it down for you, and you can start with those who all have a family tree, for example. And now the list will be filtered to show you only the DNA matches who have a tree on MyHeritage, and you can see that a lot of our folks have family trees.
Most of them do, wow.
The majority of them, because of the benefits of having a family tree together with your DNA test, you get so much more out of it. So the list narrowed down to 1,600 or so. So these are the ones who have a family tree. The other options there are those who have a smart match. A smart match on MyHeritage, for those who are not familiar yet, are individuals that exist both in your tree and in theirs. So there's a Jenny Fabricio right here, and you have 3 smart matches. That means that you have in your tree, there are 3 individuals, and in her tree, which has 126 people, the same 3 individuals, the same 3 people. So that's a very good hint that the two of you have, and you have ancestral surnames that are in common. So
yeah, this is a match that I previously saw here on MyHeritage. I only saw it here on MyHeritage, and I contacted her, and now I know exactly how we both fit together, and we're now Facebook friends, and it's nice to follow each other. So that was nice.
That's great.
So how do I reset and go all the way back to everything?
On the left, if you've searched and filtered and sorted, there's there was a clear right there next to the showing how many results. There's a clear button. You'll click on that, and it gets you right back to top.
Okay.
Everything's cleared, and you see your full list of DNA matches.
Good. Now, before I click on Review DNA Match and ask you to tell me about that, there's a question mark over here, and I think it's this one. Yes, I love this chart. So let me go back. So if I have one of my results here, it says we're like between third cousins and five cousins, and I'm trying to visualize, how they might fit in with my tree. This chart right here is one of the most beautiful charts I've seen. Can you tell me a little bit about what I'm seeing here?
Definitely. So these are one of the first things actually we've developed when we released our DNA matches out. So our users, we have different types of users. Some of them are very experts, genealogists, and some of them are new to the world of the concept of a first cousin once removed, for example. That's a term that many people are not familiar with and don't understand the relationship. So we built this chart. So what we're showing you, for example, someone who is a second cousin once removed to a third cousin twice removed, for example, we will circle those degrees, those relationships on this chart so that you can see how you might be related to them, and the opposite way, of course. So here, that's a father-son potential DNA match because you have 50% shared with your father, but if you'll test your son, for example, you'll see that you also have a 50% DNA match with him. So based on the DNA, solely on the DNA, without genealogical data, we can say that it's either a father or a son.
I really so let's look at it with my cousin Jenny here. So I'll click on that.
Right.
It looks a lot more interesting when it's other than just father, son.
Right.
So this right here, everything kind of in purple, is showing the possibilities of how she's related to me. Is that accurate?
Correct. So based on the DNA data that we received, on the amount of DNA data that exists between you and Jenny, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Yep.
All right. So it can be a variety of relationships, right? So when we're talking 50%, it's either father-son. When we're talking 25%, it's usually grandmother, granddaughter, female, male, of course, right? So, but when we're getting to that 1%, 1.5%, 3%, there's a range. I'm sorry. There's a range of relationships which this DNA match can fall into. So exactly here, where we see where you have 1.2%, I think 1.2% can fit into a DNA match between you and each one of those relationships that you see here. So that's why we're showing you the entire range and exactly on a tree so that you can see who your common ancestor might be based on your DNA match results.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's now. Oh, here's my clear link. Thank you. I'm going to now click on Review DNA Match. This is for my dad and I. And can you walk me through this screen? And then Russ,
sure.
I'm going to invite Russ on because we're going to go to him next. So yeah, walk me through this screen here.
All right. So the top summarizes the data that we showed you in the DNA matches page. So the amount of shared DNA that you have, number of segments, the largest segment, all these apply to a father-son DNA match, to a father-son relationship.
Okay.
At the bottom, below it, we're giving you, these are the various tools that we gave at MyHeritage for our users to work with the DNA matches and understand how the two of them are related. So the first component you see here is the shared DNA matches. So the people you see here in the middle column are people who have tested for their DNA. Their DNA exists in our system. And we found a match also between you, the root person, the logged in person, and your DNA match. So here we can see that your grandfather, Earl, is also matching you and matching your father, Darwin, which makes sense, 50% with your father and 21% with you, which fits into a grandfather-grandchild relationship.
Okay.
The next on the list are other individuals, which also might help you figure out. So here we're looking at your father, and you know your father. But sometimes when you'll try to work on a DNA match who you're not familiar with yet, it'll begin with a name and date, right? A year and a name and a year of birth. So looking at those DNA matches, for example, if you'd see in your shared DNA matches that this person that you're trying to figure out how the two of you are related is also matching your dad, that's a good hint that he's from your paternal side, for example. So it's worth looking into that direction. If you have it with your grandfather, for example, so it means that he's from your grandfather and not your grandmother's side.
Yes.
So that can help. So testing as many generations as possible and cousins really help figure out and better understand the relationships between you and your DNA matches.
Okay. All right. Get a test out to everyone. All right. I'm going to scroll down past these shared matches and let's get to shared ethnicities. So, and this is between me and the match that I clicked on, which is my father.
Correct. So you can see here what we're showing here, and again, we're looking at your father, but let's take a DNA match that you're not familiar with yet. And you're looking at this chart. We're basically showing you a comparison side by side of your DNA results and the DNA matches results. So if, for example, I was 50% Jewish Ashkenazi from my father's side and 50% Sephardic, Jewish Sephardic from my mother's side, and I can see that the DNA match of me also has Jewish Ashkenazi, I can again say that it's probably from my paternal side. If we share similar ethnicities, and I can identify which side of the family those were inherited from.
Okay, let's scroll on down the chromosome browser. Now we're going to look at this with some other folks here in just a bit, but and I'm wondering, should we come? Well, tell me what I'm seeing. I'm seeing everything's purple here except for some of these things. What am I looking at here? I'm going to zoom out just a little.
All right. So this is the chromosome browser, the one-to-one that we initially released. I think it was around December time.
Okay.
And what you see here is that we're highlighting the shared segments that you have with your DNA match. In this case, you chose your father, with whom you share 50%. Short explanation about how DNA is inherited. So each one of us has 22 pairs of autosomal chromosomes and another pair of sex chromosomes, the X, Y, and XX. The first one for a male and the second one for a female. So we're looking here at the autosomal, and since there are two pairs, what happens is that you've inherited one side from your father and the second side was inherited from your mother, and that's what builds your chromosome 1. Same thing goes for the remaining. So since you're sharing your whole chromosome, one full chromosome with each one of your parents, here you see the chart fully painted. However, if we'll take a DNA match who's a third to fourth cousin or something like that, you'd see purples not everywhere, not all over the chromosomes, but only in those genomic positions, those places in the DNA where we found a sequence. The results look similar between you and your DNA match. That's what actually identified the two of you as DNA matches. And then you can look at those spots and those places and look for other DNA matches, and that's what we're doing with the chromosome 1-to-many, which we'll get to probably in a second.
Yeah.
You'll be able to look for other DNA matches who are matching in the same genomic position.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I want to go back one screen, and I'm going to switch over here, and I'm going to click here. So last month at Roots Tech, I went and visited MyHeritage's office there in Lehigh, about half hour south of Salt Lake City. And while I was there, I met Russ Wilding. Now, Russ, I'm going to open your mic and welcome you. Hi, Russ.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Geoff, and excellent job. I've learned a lot from Rand so far.
Oh, well, good. Now, Russ, am I saying is it Russ Wilding? Am I saying your name correctly? Okay. All right. Now, yes. First things first. Should have done that earlier. All right. So met Russ, and actually I was there with my partner Marion, and we were looking at some of the charts on the walls there, and some of those charts had some pretty confidential stuff on them, some plans at the office, and I think Russ was there in the corner office looking at us, probably thinking, who are these people? And anyway, so I got to meet Russ a little bit. Now, the next day at Roots Tech, while I was looking at my DNA matches, a Russell Wilding appeared, and I hadn't made this connection before, but I'd want to go over here and use the search tool, and I'm going to pull up or do a search for the name of Russell, and let's see. You should show up here, or someone that has your same name here. I want to know for sure, are we cousins? So First of all, Russ, I guess I should ask you, is this you? Are you a runner? Are you in your 60s? And are we third or fourth cousins? Does this look familiar to you?
I think that's all true, yes.
Okay. So if I wanted to contact you, I could go there, but let's go into View DNA Match and kind of explore here together. And Rand, tell us a little bit about what I'm seeing, and tell me, is Russ really my third to fourth cousin?
So we're about to figure that out.
Okay.
So let's start. So we can see the basic information. So there's 1%. Only 1% of shared DNA between you and Russell. 4 shared segments. The largest segment is 28.5, which is quite long, which kind of strengthens me. Yeah, kind of makes me believe that there's something to look into here. Let's scroll a bit down and let's look at each one of the components that we see that will help us.
But first, this question mark right here, next to estimated relationships, that should pull up the chart, and so it's somewhere here that Russ would fit in with me. Is that true?
That is true. So what we're doing on the outside, you can see that we wrote third to fourth cousin because these are the ones that are in high probability. That is the actual connection. Here we might show sometimes a little bit more. Like, for example, you can see that your second cousin twice removed. But we believe that third to fourth actually kind of fits best because of it's most likely to be in between third to fourth.
All right.
So let's continue the components and see what's coming up next. So shared ancestral surnames. So we can see that your shared ancestors are common, yet you have six ancestral surnames that exist both in your tree and on Russell's. So you have both Brown, Sarah, and Janet on Russell's side.
Brown's pretty common though, so I won't even won't look at that very much. We got Hardmans. So I have Hardmans, and Russ has a Hardman. Scrolling down.
And we can see that you both have an Elizabeth Hardman right there.
Oh, yes, okay. Well, all right.
Interesting. A good starting point. Both of you have an Elizabeth.
I like that. Same last names there. And then we've got some Morgans. So
Scots and Williams.
Here, now this list is quite a bit longer. And some of these names over on Russ's side actually look very familiar to me. So we may connect on the Morgans, and I click here on Scots because they're close to the Morgans. And these also look okay. So maybe we're connected on the Morgans and Scots. So I think that's what I'm learning here so far.
All right. So that's a good start.
So can I just ask one question here?
Yeah, please.
So Geoff and Ron, I notice when you're matching a family tree here, this is actually a smaller tree. I have a much larger tree that I'm managing as well. How does it pick which tree to match against?
So you have 2 trees in MyHeritage, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something that... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ron.
So what we're doing here, the question that Russ brought up is that there are many folks who have that are member in multiple sites, and in each one of those sites they can have more than one tree. So we're choosing the tree in which you have an associated individual to begin with, that we can say that the DNA kit is associated to your member on MyHeritage, and then we'll pick the tree in which you have an associated individual in it, so that we can look at your direct ancestors. And what we usually do is that we look at all the trees in which we found an associated individual where you exist, and we look, when it comes to DNA, specifically in the context of DNA, we're looking for the tree in which you have as many ancestors as we can find. So if there's one tree in which you, for example, you've invested, there are 10,000 people in it, but you are the only one, and then you linked yourself to your wife, and then the 10,000 people are all ancestors from her side. For the context of DNA, that won't be very relevant, because we won't be able to show you any surnames. All the information that we show here are only ancestors. When it comes to DNA, that's the thing that matters the most. So blood-related ancestors of you and Geoff. So
Okay.
that's how we pick our tree. So we take the tree in which we can find as many ancestors as we find, like as far back as they go in time, and we choose that tree as the tree for reference for DNA purposes.
Okay. Now, scrolling down a bit, this is showing our shared DNA matches. We talked about this earlier, but seeing that my father is here, that gives me a clue that Russ and I would be connected to each other on my father's side of the tree. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And if I knew more about these people, then that would help me know, narrow that down even further. I noticed, though, if I go down here, if Russ has a tree associated with his account, I'm able to see at least part of his tree here. And and Russ, as I'm looking at your mother's side of the tree, I recognize these people right here as being my people. So maybe I should call them our people. So Edward Morgan and Loiza Scott, those are absolutely in my tree. So that, Russ, would be your maternal grandmother's grandparents. Okay. Now I want to take a look at that a little bit further in just a second, but here's shared ethnicities, and now this right here, this gets me excited. So our chromosome browser, and this is the 1-to-1 chromosome browser, I think, and it looks like he and I share nothing on chromosomes 1 through 17. But what am I seeing here? I see some purple.
Right, you see the purple. So you see those parts of your DNA. So each one of us has 22 autosomal chromosomes. And when we took your DNA data, and in this case Russ's DNA data, and we compared the two, we were looking and we couldn't find any indication for a DNA match on any of the first 17 chromosomes, as you said. But when we got to the chromosome 18, we saw that there's a sequence there that matches your data in that genomic position right there, which you saw in the tooltip, matches the one that Russ has. And that's why we're indicating that, so that we're notifying you that on chromosome 18 there's a certain portion of DNA that looks similar both in your case and in Russ's case. Same thing goes for those two spots at 19 and in 22.
Okay, Russ, chip in if you have anything to say or questions. But I want to move this straight from this 1-to-1 browser to the 1-to-many. Do you mind if we do that now? All right, hearing nothing, let's do that. I'll go up to DNA and then go down to chromosome browser. I think I'm going to the right spot. And let me zoom back into normal. Okay, so tell me what to do here and why I would want to, what is this and what good is this going to do for me?
So the chromosome browser 1-to-many, so we saw before, so for example, let's take the example with Russ. So we saw there are 4 segments spread on 3 chromosomes in which the two of you match. Okay. What we want to try and understand now is as what side of the family. So you have a hint, you think that it's from your paternal side, correct?
Yes.
And on your paternal side and Russ's maternal side.
Yeah.
So here what you can do is start adding out of your DNA matches that we see here at the bottom. So you're the focused person. There's always an option right next to the compare. There's an arrow that will let you switch if you want to look. Okay. You want to check your other relatives.
Okay.
So here you can start adding people to the list and see how all of you match together, whether you have a shared match between all of you, and if you do, whether you have triangulated segments. I want to take a second and explain what a triangulated segment means.
Okay, thank you.
So in this view, we'll be able to show you and up to 7 of your DNA matches all together on one chromosome browser. And what we're looking to see people who are matching each other. The entire group is matching each other, and also whether they're all matching in the same segment, meaning there was one common ancestor, and the descendants of him all have the remaining segment inherited from him that they all share together. So you can either search for a DNA match in the DNA match name field right there if you're looking for a specific person, or you can add people
Just
according to the research that you're making. Exactly. When you're hovering over the card, there'll be a little plus icon, and you can always remove by
That's
hovering.
easy. It's beautifully designed. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've got
we can see that you've added your father. Yeah. Exactly.
My father and his father. And before adding, I want to add Russ here to see what happens, but I want to just start here and then click compare and help me understand this, and then we'll add Russ.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got 26 triangulated segments. I mean.
Correct.
Okay.
So we were able, so in this case, again, we see there are two DNA matches, let's say, you and your father and you and your grandfather, that we're looking at right now. And we can see the basic information about each one of these DNA matches separately, standalone. And below we can see the shared segments that all three of you have, meaning if we'll look at the DNA data of all the three of you, if we'll put it together one next to the other, we can see that the data repeats itself. And you, exactly as you hover over it, as you're doing right now, you can see the triangulated segments, which mean these are portions of DNA that all of you match together in with one another.
Okay.
So that means that in this case, if you've taken your father and your grandfather, but there's a common ancestor to the three of you, in this case, this is your grandfather, and each one of you inherited a certain portion. So you can see the red indicates, the first line, the red line in each chromosome indicate your shared segments with your father.
Okay.
And the yellow at the bottom indicates...
Yeah.
Exactly, and the yellow indicates a shared segment with your grandfather, and you can see that you match much more with your father because you're 50% matched with him, while you're 21% matched with your grandfather.
Yeah.
That's why we see those differences, and the remaining parts, if you'd fill them out, are probably inherited from your mother.
Okay.
And that's why not everything is highlighted.
Yeah. All right. And by the way, I'm bringing my mother a DNA test this weekend when we go to visit, so we'll get her in here too. Now, so if I want to know if Russ is related to me on this grandfather's side, and I add, so could I use this to try to determine that?
Let's try and add him and see what happens.
All right.
So you can click on the add or remove,
and then do a search for Russ. Here, I'll zoom in while I'm waiting. Okay, here he is, and then I click on the plus sign, and then hit compare. Okay, no triangulated segments. So what does that mean?
That means that we now matched, we took you have four people in the group. You have yourself, you have your father, you have your grandfather, and you have Russ. We are now checking to see if all four of these people match one another, okay? And if they match one another, whether there is a segment, a specific segment in which we can say that there is a matching segment between all of you. The data in that piece of DNA, in that genomic position, is similar to all of you. And in this case, we can see that you don't. Meaning that if there is a common ancestor, if we were looking for a common ancestor to the four of you, we couldn't find an indication that that is the case.
Okay. So what this is inferring to me is, so Russ is related to me through my dad's side. Now, if I took off my grandpa, hey, I want to try to do that. I'm just kind of doing this out loud here, and let me take off grandpa and hit compare. So now I'm left with dad and Russ. This is so exciting. This is exactly what I thought might happen. Okay, so what this is showing and let's go down. Okay, here we are. So we don't triangulate with my dad's dad, but we do triangulate just with my dad, meaning perhaps we would triangulate with my dad's mother, and so that would tell me what side of the tree he's on. Is that true?
I Yeah, that is the perfect way to put it. I think that's exactly what it shows us.
All right. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to switch over to legacy. Now I've got my tree on MyHeritage, but I can move. I just want to move really quick here. So here's my grandmother, and I don't have her DNA, unfortunately. But if I look at her, notice that I have Russ's ancestors there, of Edward Morgan and Louisa Scott. And to me, they're my third great grandparents. I think to him they're his second great. But I want to go over to the family view, and if I remember correctly, Russ, you descend through Isaac M. Morgan, and
Yes.
okay, and then you descend through their daughter, and I'm going to add this to my real personal tree right now. You descend through their daughter Iris Bell, and
That's actually my grandfather.
this is your grandfather. Okay.
Right.
I'll switch this to male then. Okay, thanks for the clarification. I'll put in 1899. That just helps me. I know he lived till 1989. Now, Iris, your grandfather had a child, and I think that was a daughter, and so the surname would be Morgan, and I'm going to just leave it as that. And then that daughter had a son. And I'm just getting this from the tree that you put on there. And this is Russell Wilding here. And now what this is going to show me, if I go back to me, I want to just recalculate this real quick. I'm going to hit set relationships, and this is going to go and do this. Now, we could do this up at MyHeritage in my tree that's up there. I'm still getting used to it, and I just can't do it as fast up there as I can right here. So that's why I did it right here real quick. Now I'm going to hit the back button, and this shows me that, Russ, as long as I've put everything in there correctly, you are my third cousin once removed. And so nice to meet you, cousin. I'm going to go up to reports, or I'm going to go to tools and there's one other thing I want to look at, our relationship calculator between me and, now I'm going to pick Russ here. This calculates that relationship. This is what I want to get to, is the print. And let me put some pictures on here and hit preview. And all right, so here we are. So here's me at the bottom. If I go up through my dad, through his mom, and so on, I get to Edward Morgan. And I just come down this way, and eventually I get back to you. So how does that look, Russ? Does that look like we're actually related? I think with you and my dad, you would be his third cousin, just straight across. All right. Well, this is probably nothing to you, but this is exciting to me to have met you there in Lehigh and noticed that you were in my DNA match list, and now with the genealogy trail, we've shown how we are indeed related. So this, I absolutely love what I just learned here, both of you, with this triangle.
It's amazing. That's great.
It is. And see, what happened is I had this theory, and so we presented the theory by removing my grandfather, and by doing that, and him still matching my dad, easily told me you are on my mom's side of the tree, and here in my pedigree view, we proved that. So here's me, here's my dad's mom's side of the tree, and Russ is connected to me through that side. Love it. Tell me, is there anything else I should be loving about this?
That's great. I think it was a very good example of how to use this in a real life example. Is that we started by adding, what people usually do is that they start by adding either the father or the mother or a cousin from one of these sides.
Okay.
If it's not always possible to test all family members. Sometimes you take a cousin who you know which side of the family is from, and you're starting pulling in matches one by one, and you're playing with it, and you're seeing, and you see that there's, at some point they stop triangulating, and then you take someone from the other side, from the maternal side or the paternal side, and you see that they start triangulating, and things start to make sense. You start better understanding how your list of DNA matches, how they, how they're divided, how they're distributed. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's funny because that was the live process that I just went through, and it started to make sense. Folks out there, I didn't. This wasn't rehearsed or practiced. I mean, this was live. Okay, one last thing I want to ask you about, and that's back on the DNA matches. And there's a little tiny option here, I think, on advanced options. Will you explain to me what these do and why they can help me?
Sure. So this is something that we've released about the Rootstech was about a month ago now. Wow, time flies. So we saw, we hear, we listen to our customers. We try to understand the things they want and the tools that help them the most. And we saw a big demand for people who would like to do the research offline or to work with their list of DNA matches in other tools such as Excel. So we've given two options to our users. The first one is to export their entire DNA matches list, which will, by clicking on this option, an email will be sent to you. We will start generating that list of DNA matches, and once it's ready, it will be sent to your personal email address as you've provided to us, and that list holds almost all the information that you can also see in the website, such as the DNA, all of your DNA matches names and ages and the country they're from and whether they have a tree and how many individuals are in the tree and what surnames they have, and etc., etc. So it's a long list of all your thousands of DNA matches that you can work with on. It's in a CSV file, so you can work on it in Excel or any other application that you use. That's pretty much the first one. The second one will export all of the shared segments you have with all of your DNA matches. So in this case, we're talking about almost 1,900 DNA matches. So it's a very, very long list because with each one of them, you have at least 1 to 2 segments. So it can be a very long list, but you can look for genomic positions where you match, you have multiple DNA matches that the DNA data is similar in that genomic position. And you can work with it again in Excel. It'll be sent to your email so that you can work with it offline or in any way that will help you the most.
So if I had this in Excel, tell me if this is possible. Could I then sort the column by the chromosome number, and would that give me a list, or would that sort everyone that match me on chromosome 18, for example?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. So you can filter your list or sort your lists, your Excel, and then look at chromosome 18 at all the matches that have a starting point at 12 million or whatever you're looking for, and see all those that are matching in that specific genomic position. Yeah,
and that would help me. I need a webinar on that to help me see and understand that. But that would help me begin to see, the groups of related people and how they descend from a certain or a specific common ancestor. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. You can look for those DNA matches that are matching in the same genomic positions and create groups of DNA matches that you can, for example, refer to as chromosome 18, starting point X, ending point Y. And then go to the chromosome browser and see if they all triangulate, if they all matching each other. And indeed, there's a common ancestor for that group, or a short list of that group.
Wow, that's exciting. Well, I've kept you for way too long, but I want more of you here. This is great. Is there, before I go and let's do some door prizes, anything else that you want to say before we do that?
I think that in the past hour or so, we've seen various features, and we are on limited time here, but there are so many things to look at in the product, and more features and more exciting stories and more interesting DNA matches to review. It takes some time, but it's so much fun, and I really encourage all those who have already uploaded to come back and see the new features that we've recently launched. That will be very helpful, I hope, for you guys to work with and better understand your DNA matches and your relationship. And again, for those who haven't uploaded yet, more than welcome to do so. Free list of DNA matches and a free ethnicity estimate report. Super easy to upload. And, Surprises are right around the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll find Russ or Geoff as your third cousin once removed. Who knows?
Oh, I would hope not. You guys don't want some of my DNA, anyways. But maybe Russ's. Well, thank you so much. By the way, I hit the start record button, so you'll be able to go back and rewatch this over and over and over. It'll be up in the webinar library within a couple of hours here today. And just go and share it with everybody that you can think of. Also, while you're up there, take a look at what's brand new in the library. Last night's webinar, people are calling one of the finest of all time. So if you want a great webinar on methodology, go and learn from Catherine Damaris last night. And then on Friday, we released a 4-part series, and this is for webinar subscribers. You know, every Friday we have bonus webinars for you, and so on World War I ancestors and their records, so check that out. Also Cindy Engel from last Wednesday, true stories of reunions thanks to genetic genealogy is up there, and then navigating the family search catalog. Those are all brand new. Now, DNA in the webinar library, if you want even more, that's up there as well. There's 44 classes in there. There will be 45 after today's. And this is DNA time. This Friday, we're going to have Mike Mansfield back on Introduction to DNA Testing. And this is the class, excuse me, that he taught us on our last Legacy Genealogy cruise. And it was technical and sciencey, but it was very good. So I'll see you Friday for that, and then next Tuesday will be our next webinar with MyHeritage webinar series on how DNA testing can reveal your ethnic roots. Next Wednesday, we'll have Blaine Bettinger back for formulating a DNA testing plan. And then in April, we'll have Jewish genealogy for the non-Jew, history, migration, DNA. We'll have Shelley with us for the first time, and then I'll be back for adding a census record with Legacy on Friday, April 6th. Okay, it's time for door prizes. And thanks for all your comments in here, by the way. There's actually maybe 1,000, 1,500 comments in here. I'm sorry, we're not going to get to all of them. By the way, Lincoln calls this triangulation for dummies explained. Yeah, I like that. And or I'd say triangulation came alive. You know, that'd be another good title. Well, let's do door prizes, and our first door prize winner, as I mentioned earlier, we reserve one of these for one of our webinar subscribers. Everybody needs a DNA test and a webinar subscription, then you'll have everything that you need. Okay, so myheritage.com/DNA, go and get yours. Our first winner here, Letty Sobs of Chicago, Illinois. Thanks for your membership and congratulations. Next, we're going to go on to another door prize. So everybody look in that webinar control panel of yours and look for that little hand raising button. And I'm going to just randomly move my scroll bar up and down until I land on one of you. Any of you that I call your name here, just watch for an email from me, and off we go. While you're clicking, Carol writes in saying, finally, some more of this makes sense to me. Thanks to all three of you. And then she has about 10 exclamation points there. So Carol, glad that you were here and it's starting to make sense. All right, our winner, drum roll, we have Ray Picard. So Ray, congratulations. Thanks for clicking at exactly the right time. All right, let's now go on to Legacy Family Tree software. And just keep those hands raised, and I'll just go and randomly pick another one here. John Hamilton. John, you didn't get that DNA test today, but you got Legacy software. Okay, that's coming your way. And now let's go on to a free month's webinar membership. And by the way, if you want to start from the very beginning and go to the very end in DNA, Blaine Bettinger's got a 5-course DNA series up there in the library, which is oh so good. Check that out. Okay, webinar membership. We're going to go to Louise Henson, who writes in saying she loves the chromosome browser. All right. Okay, everyone, and here's your 10% off coupon. That's good up at the familytreewebinars.com site. for 10% off. That's good through this coming Monday. Got that link in there for you. All right. We've got just a few more minutes here, but I'm going to try to get through as many of these questions as I can in that time. So Ran, are you ready for this? I know it's getting late your time. It's probably almost time for bed where you're at, so we won't do this too long. But I'm going to ask some of the questions that were very commonly asked here, and one of those deals with what kind of DNA are we uploading. So Clement specifically says, "Hey, I've got raw DNA with both ancestry and family tree DNA. Is there one of them that they should upload, or can they upload both of them? Is it just the autosomal test?" Yeah, so talk to us about that.
Very good question. So at MyHeritage, we accept autosomal files, autosomal tests done by all three companies that I mentioned, the Ancestry, 23andMe, and Family Tree DNA. And you're more than welcome to upload if you've tested. We spoke about various options. For example, someone who have sampled more than one person, so you can upload to different individuals. And also, if you've tested with more than one company, you can upload, and more than welcome to do so, upload those kits and send both of them to you. You will get different ethnicity results for each one of them based on what we find, and a cumulative list of DNA matches for those two kits or more that you have. So yeah, definitely.
Appreciate it. Thank you. The next most commonly asked question was about the paid memberships versus no pay membership. So we can do DNA and upload and receive matches without a membership. Is that accurate?
So all those who are uploading to date, everything DNA matches, your list of DNA matches and your ethnicity estimate report will be provided to you for free. Creating an account on MyHeritage is free and takes less than 30 seconds, I'd say. Once you're done and you've uploaded the file, it'll take 24 to 48 hours, and your results will be ready and completely free. You'll be able to go over your list of DNA matches, view your ethnicity results, work with the chromosome browsers. These are all given for free.
Okay, so that should answer that. And if you want more of the tree matching part, that would come if you have it one of the memberships, I think. If you've got a tree larger than 250, then you would need that. But otherwise, yeah, everything is free. What about that? About the tree? Teresa says, "Is there a way to privatize the living people on the site, or can you tell us a little bit about privacy with both DNA and the tree?"
Yeah, definitely. So when someone is testing for DNA, he can choose whether to show his real name or use an alias, use a nickname that will be presented to others. By default, every person who was DNA tested and has a tree and your DNA match, there's an option to view your tree. And if the user clicks on that, if the site was made public so that other people who are not members in your site can visit it, they'll be able to see your tree, but all the living individual will be privatized. Their first name will be shown as private by default. So living individuals are not exposed. The name of the DNA match is again up to you to decide whether you want to use your real name or use an alias. Up to you.
Okay, thank you. So living DNA, we've got many people asking, are you going to be able to accept the uploads from that company in the future?
Yes. The plan is to add support for folks who have tested with living DNA and want to upload their files to MyHeritage. We'll be able to do so, and that's coming in the next couple of months.
Okay.
So you can. Yeah.
Thank you. You're doing good. I'm throwing these at you real fast. Just a few more minutes. A question from Carrie, who says, are we only talking autosomal here, or can Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA kits be uploaded as well?
At the moment, we accept only autosomal files.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, a question from Carol, who says, our sons have both tested. Can they upload to MyHeritage and then give me the authority over their DNA?
So, assuming they're above the age of 18, they can upload to MyHeritage. We're restricting it for minors. But I would do this perhaps the other way around. I would ask them to hand you over their files and upload the data, and then have those individuals, their individuals in your tree associated with their members, so that all of you have access. So we have two roles, I'd call them, on the product. One is the DNA manager, and one is the person assigned, associated with the kit. If you're managing the kit, both you and the person associated can look at it. So at the moment, we'll do it the other way around, and have you upload for them, if that is possible.
Very good. Thank you. Let's go to Carla, who asks about the chromosomes. Are those numbered chromosomes, are they named also? Specific names for each chromosome?
So the chromosomes are, for us, for all human beings, there are 22 chromosomes. They're numbered from 1 to 22. Each one of them is in a different length and hold different number of SNPs. And so it's 1 to 22, and then for females, there's an additional XX, and for male, there's an XY chromosome, which determine our sex, our genetic sex. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Carla, their names are in the number, I think.
Yes.
All right. Well, very good. Now, a question from Winifred about ethnicities. How far back do if it says I'm 20% Irish, I mean, how far back is that being accounted for?
So our ethnicity estimate in most cases covers up to 7 to, in some cases, 9 generations back, as far as we know. It's also very hard to track and say that, but based on the science, it's usually up to 7 generations back, perhaps a little bit more in some cases.
Huh. All right. Oh, very interesting. Well, let's see, a question from Peggy about the chromosomes. Is there somewhere that we can find an explanation of what each chromosome, covers? What each chromosome discusses or points to? Do you know what we're trying to say? A description?
I think I do. I'll try to explain in a short way, and then there are other ways. There are multiple sites, and there are various sites that go even deeper, explaining each chromosome and the data that it holds. But basically, so each chromosome, that's how each one of us, there are 3 billion pairs of SNPs, of identifiers that each one of us has. And human beings, for example, I think I showed that in my previous webinar. So, for example, a human being and a chimpanzee, we have in common almost 99.6%, if I remember correctly, of our DNA. So out of those 3 billion pairs, we actually look exactly the same. If we look at the data, the DNA will look exactly the same as a chimpanzee. So for a human being, it even goes to 99.9%. And that 0.1% is that thing that makes us unique, makes us who we are, each one of us as individuals. So we're looking at those 700,000-ish, around 700,000 lines to look for the different results that each one of us has. And that is how we're doing the DNA matches. We're looking for sequences in which of genomic positions where we have matching results. There are 4-letter A, G, C, and T, and we're looking for matches. You can have a look at my previous webinar on the library. There I spoke a little bit more about that and showed some examples and some slides. I think it might make it a little bit more clear. And for those who want to look even deeper, Google.
Okay. Well, good. So for those 30% of you who haven't uploaded your data yet, go and have a fun afternoon doing that. And for the 9% of you that have not yet tested, go ahead and do that this afternoon. And thank you, Ran and Russ. This has been wonderful. I don't know, for me anyways, it's been very educational. Suzanne writes in right now saying, this webinar has boosted my confidence level because I am finally getting it. And she writes in saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm a big fan of MyHeritage anyways, but this webinar has taken it over the top. So Suzanne will conclude with that. Rand, thanks. Russ, thanks. Cousin Russ,
Thank you very
thanks.
much.
This has been a blast. Hope to see you at the next family reunion, and hope to see all of you the next time. So wherever and whenever you are, thanks for sharing part of your day with us. And remember, life is short. Do genealogy first. Bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.